Good morning, everyone, and hi from US. Hope everyone is staying safe and healthy during this period of unprecedented ambiguity. I am so excited to speak with all of you today and share part of my journey here in RB, building an insight-driven digital business. It also happens to be an area of passion for me and where I've been dwelling in for the last 3 years. You've already heard from many eminent speakers in this forum about how they leverage in analytics and insights to drive growth. I plan to share some of the learnings and challenges in this, which I have faced in the last 5 years. Let me caveat off the front, I don't intend to dive into specific tools since 20 minutes is not enough. Plus, we have quite a broad group of people here today. But hope to share a framework on how we approached it. Let's get going. So to introduce myself, my name is Rahul and I head the marketing team for the RB US e-commerce business. I've worked extensively in the FMCG industry across Asia and US. I started my career in traditional brand management side, fell in love with digital, and have actively chartered my way through it. I currently live in New York with my wife, my son, and my cute dog. A little bit about RB. RB is a global FMCG company. We are much better known for our brands, some of which I have it on the slide. Of late, have been very proud to have worked on brands such as Lysol and Dettol, which is playing a key role in today's world to keep everyone safe. While thinking about this presentation, I wonder where could we all get some inspiration? And what struck me was one of the oldest human profession has mastered this challenge of real-time insights, agile strategy, and speed. The medical profession. Think about it. When you go to a doctor, their success depends on distilling through all that you tell them, all your symptoms and data to identify the real insights very quickly, and then deploying an agile treatment. So if this has been going on for thousands of years, why is it so difficult for business? And why are we talking about it now? Isn't it fascinating? And the big change is digital. Digital equals speed. And I'd like to spend a minute here because this is foundational. It's extremely important for every one of us to understand the tectonic change of digital. Only then can you appreciate the true, and you can appreciate and truly harness this power. Digital in its true translation is bits and bytes. And that means a lot more data. It also means much faster transmission compared to like the analog signals that we were used to before. The industry looks at digital for many different ways: personalization, engagement, insights. However, not many companies associate digital with speed. And there's a reason. Because for us to leverage this potential of digital, all of us would have to rebuild, and I repeat, rebuild your businesses today digitally. That would mean everything: your business model, the way you service your customers, your internal organization structure, your talent. And not many companies are able to do so. I pasted a quote from one of the key leaders in the space of digital that I follow. Sandeep is the chief digital officer for Mars, and I heard him speak in one of the industry forums, I would say 2 years back, where he said that the war cry for his organization, which is Mars, which is speed. And this is from his latest article, his interview in Forbes, where he said Mars will be 100 times faster through its digital engine. So I just feel inspired, and I hope out of this conversation today, you would be able to go back and re-look into all your wherever you are in your digital journey of your organization, and understand the value of speed. Moving to the next slide. Yep. So to illustrate an example of how does digital truly change an industry, how does it reshape an industry for speed, we don't need to look very far. How many of us remember probably 2 decades back when stockbrokers would sell stocks on the floor, right, with their hands raised, and they'll be trying to sell and get a buyer. Today, with the adoption of digital, it has converted that behavior, that industry, into a high-speed, highly agile, data and insight-driven business. Millions of trades happen every millisecond, and that is speed. Can your business or pieces of your business transform to adopt a similar pace? And how do you get ready for it? So that's a lot of inspiration. Let's look into let's probably pull back a little bit. Let's pull back a little bit and understand in the world of marketing. This is finally a digital marketing conference, right? How will speed change our function? If you look at the framework for marketing, it essentially is 4 key blocks. Number 1, knowing your consumer and your customer's pain point. Number 2, understanding the solutions that meet their need. Number 3, positioning and finding the right message. And number 4, reaching the right audience in the right time. Traditionally, the cycle used to be an annual cycle, and in some industries, probably it's more than that. Accordingly, the capabilities, the insight tools, methodologies that we have built up, we're very good, I would say, but are they agile? Are they real time? And please don't get me wrong here. I started my career in traditional marketing, and I can tell you some of these capabilities are very in depth. But do you run your organization, your business in such a linear fashion? And in the future, would you have the liberty of time? That's what I want to provoke today. And that's what I want all of us to think about. In today's world, we are moving into a loop framework where the stage gates happen endlessly. I should not be telling you, all of you, probably you are out there seeing it every day, but it's a good moment for all of you to pause and go through the fundamentals of what's going to change in marketing. We need to build capabilities that can help us through each milestone that you see on the chart with speed. This is only possible when you reimagine every stage gate digitally. Understand, how can you get the same insight real time in a more agile way with less resources? So perhaps the main point that I want to talk about here is don't start with a tool and force fit it. Rather, rethink how your marketing is meeting every value creation point with real-time insights. There are 2 additional points that I would like to mention here. Number 1, always be clear on what you're compromising and what you're gaining. The new approach that you would adopt, right? Be it social listening, be it big data analytics, be it A/B testing, be it product testing, be it like digitally testing a lot of concepts, products, a new form of ethnography, right? The new approach you would adopt would probably be not as comprehensive as your old approach. And it's unfair to compare both of them. But what would help you is understanding why you're doing it, what do you get as a benefit out of it, and then what is it probably you'll not get, so they can keep balancing it and go through the transition. The second point I wanted to say is that in the last 6 months during COVID crisis, many organizations have been forced to rethink and change because you are not able to function the way before. And that probably is a great opportunity. That's probably a great point, an inflection point for all of us to go through this transition. Okay, so how did we approach it? We started off with outlining all the possible insights that we would want to leverage for our businesses internally. I call it the onion peel. At the core of it, you have business performance data, sales, market share, competition, and what exactly, how is your business doing? At the next level is what I call business drivers. These are the inputs that apparently you should keep an eye on to understand how fast is your car going. Right? It could be pricing, promo, they all affect your business and they're drivers of your business. Can you have those gauge meters to understand how you're doing? The third layer is, and the third peel is business accelerators. This is truly when you start going out of your day-to-day fire or day-to-day business, but more around to what is happening in the consumer landscape, what's happening in the customer landscape, how is a category getting reshaped, and how do you know, and how can you churn those humongous amount of data, qualitative data sometimes, into insights. And the fourth layer, again, when you rethink everything digitally, is probably where things get really fascinating, is business simulation. In today's world, you don't need for data to come to you. You can create insights by simulating different situations. And that's when you get into a next level of, okay, let me put this out in the market. Let me think about it this way. Let me hear from the consumer what they want to say in a very nimble and quick way. Moving to the next one. So what did we do after we mapped out these are all the different relevant insights that we want to have, right? Then we went ahead and tried to really approach it in a structured, strategic way. And you will need to focus on the right floor of your house. What do I mean by it, right? Your journey, or at least our journey, started off with like the first level, just aggregating all the different data sources, consolidating it into an increasing visibility of those data among your stakeholders. It could be the basic foundational just reporting, and probably it's not the most sexy part of what you would think this journey would be, but it's very key for the whole house to keep standing. The next floor is about automation and automating the insight generation process. Very quickly, we realized that the bottleneck of your organization is team's bandwidth and capability. The team would get inundated in all of this digital footprints and all of these digital data coming along. And you cannot expect to keep moving in on speed if every time it's about taking a dump from a tool, looking at it from Excel sheet, coming up with the insights, and then activating on it. So the whole idea there is then about automating the insight generation process. And there are a lot of tools in the market, and there's a lot of fantastic tools in the market that have come up in the last 3 to 5 years that I've been here. It's all about you defining what you want to achieve, which is the most important one. Where do you want to invest? And then build those tools. It could be business intelligence, it could be AI, ML, it could be attribution modeling, it could be simulation. And once you have got your insights, then you move to the roof of the house. It's the one which makes your house look really pretty. It's the action. And hopefully it's all about automated action. Going back to the story that I said before, in the trading business, in the stock business, yes, you can have all this data and you can find out how to an arbitrage opportunity, but if you cannot close a transaction in a millisecond, it's not worth it. So in the same way, in digital marketing space, it's about how do you bring in that action and then keep optimizing on the action. Just to end this, end the story on the slide, it's also not just one time you build this house. This house is being rebuilt every quarter, every year, because what you think relevant changes. What do you think the data source that you want to talk about, or the data source where you're focused about? It could be inventory, it could be consumer, it could be media metrics, right? They keep evolving, and your business needs keep changing. So it's about building this house again and again and again. So let me take you through a case study of how did all of this come to life. And it's very relevant. This is something that unfortunately happened, is what we are going through. And it's during COVID. During COVID, um, we as an organization, like every one of us in this world, were a little bit fumbled. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know where would the business go. We didn't know what's happening to the consumer. There's just anxiousness all across. As marketeers, our job is to understand where to take our business, right? And how to add value for our consumers. How do you make our brands live their purpose? And that's a journey that I want to talk about today. So what happened is through AI, we wanted to hear from the consumers. We wanted to interpret the conversation, understand where the pain points are. And we have this tool, and we built this tool, which essentially distills down their pain points for us to understand. And we came across this insight that people are staying at home a lot more, and that means a lot more messes. That means unnecessary stress for them. What we also realized is that behavior is changing across different states, across different geographies, based on the incidences of COVID. What we did out of that is very quickly being able to turn around and building the tool, understanding those conversations, and then very quickly activating them on that in a very agile manner, based on a particular geography, giving them the assurance that our brands stand, are with them, and our brands are there to make their life easier. It's again one of those case studies. It's at some places look very simple. It looks very intuitive, but I can tell you, having been here, we would not have been able to execute anything like this 2 years back because we were not that much more agile and we were not that much data intensive. So what's the wisdom? What are the learnings that I can share from the last 3 years? Number one, there is this constant speed, and it truly is something that as a leader you are challenged. When you start working on an insight or capability, right, the initial insights aren't that robust, and you have to accept it, right? There's a lot of validation. There is a lot of shaping the tool, teaching the tool, teaching the people who are building the tool, right? And the whole challenge is, when do you have the confidence, or do you build a robust insight tool and then follow it with activation, or do you pretty much go parallel path with an MVP product with a little bit more generic insights while you keep activating and getting more results out of it? And that's probably a very big challenge. It's much easier said than done. The second one is, you might build up tools. You might outsource your capability to different organizations and different agencies, and they might come up with tools which probably is easier. Changing your operating model internally and building a data mindset is much more challenging. We have been, and I would admit, in our journey after 2 years, we had many number of tools, and it could add a lot of value, but it's all about creating that adoption. And that's where me and my team have been spending a lot of time in the last 3 to 4 months, understanding how do we change that operating model. Number 3 is, while we have been in the journey, the analytics technology has also been evolving. The developments, and what that has read is, you could do something today, in a year from now, there's a different technology we can be much more efficient. You can see that in the attribution modeling space, media attribution modeling space, where it has so quickly changed from what we call MMX, MTAs, to different statistical attribution modeling, and it keeps evolving. How do you manage your organization? How do you manage expectation? How do you manage your business model with such an evolving space? What does mean, and it's my thinking, is that the development cycle and the adoption cycle needs to shrink also. And you need to draw a line on the sand and say, that's it. With this capability, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to live with it for probably a year and a half, and then see whether we need to shape the capability. And the last one is what I call the juice. When does the squeeze not be worth the juice? And that could be at when do you start killing the process by just bringing in more data, by bringing in more insights, or just you keep optimizing to a space where it isn't worth everybody's effort and resource and company's resource to get the benefit out of it. That's where the 80-20 principle is really key. But how do you define an 80-20 principle in a space where you're not that comfortable, right? Where you think it's evolving is the key. How do you put all the pieces of the puzzle together when you haven't even seen the big picture? And where do you know that it's not worth focusing on that part of the puzzle? Okay, so those were the learnings about the whole, how do you bring agility and how do you bring insight in a real-time manner. And this is going to be my last slide, but I just wanted to talk about speed is as much about organization transformation as it's about building digital capabilities. This is an article from McKinsey's latest report post-COVID, and it's all about how do you reinvent for speed in the post-COVID era. And you can see it's not about the tools and the capability. It's about rethinking about the ways of working. It's about reimagining how does your organization structure should look like, how can it become nimble, and then how do you reshape talent? All of you might have heard about this multiple times in the last 1-2 years. What is different? The difference is we hopefully will soon be out of a post-COVID era. Organizations have reshaped. Your organization has been reshaping. The industry is going to be completely different from what we had. So if you have not gone through this process, if you have not challenged yourself at every level of it, please do now. That's only when you can unleash true speed using the digital capabilities that you will be building. With that, I will go in to the last slide. Again, as Jack Welch said, speed is everything. It's indispensable. It's truly going to become the key competitive advantage in the years to come. And I hope you all are ready for it. I hope this presentation is helpful for all of you. With that, thank you so much for being a very patient listener, and I'll open it up for the Q&A.